Happy Monday and welcome back to the SunnySideUpPodcast.
Welcome back.
Yeah, we're so glad you guys have joined us again this week. We have a good conversation that we have this just sort of by popular demand. We always like to look through our DMs and just see the kind of things that you guys want to chat about or questions that you have for us. So today we're talking about something that seems to be prevalent with a lot of people or kind of a hot topic, but we're talking about red flags
in relationships.
Yeah. So that's going to be a good one. Again, we are not experts. We're just going to relay our own personal stories and experiences and then take from that what you will.
Yeah.
But
a little bit of red flags and also like being in a relationship, even if there wasn't red flags.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you come into a relationship where you think everything's bliss and then like the mask comes off.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think this will be an exciting episode.
Yeah.
Obviously there'll be some hard maybe things for us to go through, but I don't know. I think it'll be good.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, that's like a good description, a good personal experience where the sort of the relationship I thought I was in before I was married was very different from the relationship I had when I was married.
Yes.
And then I was caught super off guard and sort of didn't know what to do about it. And I feel like that was back, I mean, years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like almost 2 decades ago now, which is crazy. But
Crazy
and that was
thing.
before even the term like red flag was popular, at least in my age group, or, you know, people talk around like narcissist. Now, I'd never heard any of those terms before. So when it was happening, you're just like, whoa, what's going on? And you're just kind of thrown off and scrambling, like trying to figure out how to make sense of your life and to kind of make the situation that you're in better because it was like unlivable.
So, and I think like the term is specifically narcissism is a newer term.
Yeah.
And yes, it's been around for like years and years, but it's more heightened, I would say, in the last few years. And I think it's really just trying to figure out what is that term and because also I think that people misdiagnose something.
Yeah.
It could just be like abusive or it could just be, you know,
controlling or difficult.
But, you know, I think you have more of a story in this area, right? And understanding it and a diagnosis to that where not a lot of people, they might just think their ex is a narcissist or they might just think, oh, like whatever. But really it's like counselors and like psychologists and psychiatrists, you know, all the different doctor terms that can really diagnose it.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess finding the line of like, is it controlling? Is it, all of it's wrong.
Right. Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
true. Yeah.
Narcissism, control, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I just gone are the days of like,
just simple life, hey?
Simple life, right?
That's why I like to watch those Little House on the Prairie episodes. Back to a simpler time.
You just want to live like this. This your outfit today. I'm loving it, by the way. Very colorful. It's giving Little House on the Prairie vibes.
It was like little sleeves. Yeah, I didn't wear my bonnet today. But,
you should have. But it actually reminds me of like, like Little Housewife or something. And then there's me that's like, get me on a motorcycle. Like that's what I feel like our outfits right now are very opposite. But here we are.
Okay. I know, it's fun.
Here we are. So do you want to start? Do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I know there's a stigma around diagnosing or labeling people.
Yeah.
Which to me personally, I understand that sometimes, but I'm a person like I'd rather know. Yeah. Even for anything, like a hard conversation, something goes wrong. To me, I'm like, just tell me. I'd rather just know than be, and I know some people are more like bury your head in the sand. I don't want to hear, I don't want to see.
Yeah.
But I'm not that way. I'd rather know what I'm dealing with and figure it out rather than live in the like unknown.
Yeah.
And I feel like the first time a therapist used the word narcissist to me to explain that about what was going on in my marriage, I had never heard that term. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, well, what is that?
Interesting.
And then when she described the characteristics of somebody who is a narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies, because those are also two different things, then I actually found it comforting because it made sense. And it made me think like, oh, this situation I'm in isn't necessarily unique. Yeah. This is happening. It's a real thing.
It's happening all the time.
It's like a diagnosed thing. And there's sort of like a standard for it, right?
Yeah.
To identify it. And it helped me to make sense of my life. And, you know, like a lot of the characteristics, like oftentimes people that struggle in that way, they are not empathetic. So they can seem very cold. If you're hurting, if you're upset, if you're stressed, they will just They have no empathy for you.
Yeah.
They won't help you. They won't feel for you. They can say and do horrifically mean and hurtful things because it doesn't really register to them like it would maybe the average person. Everything's self-focused, easy to angered when they don't get their way, very controlling, like all those things. Lots of lying, right? Like a chronic lying. And so a lot of the things that I was dealing with when she described it, I was like,
probably felt seen.
Totally. I was like, oh,
I'm not crazy.
Exactly.
Well, and the thing with narcissists is they often gaslight.
Yeah.
Which then believes you to think that you're crazy.
Oh, yeah.
When you're like, wait, what's happening? So that would make that would be almost freeing for you.
And that's another term too, that she was gaslighting. I'd never heard of that. I didn't know what that was. So when then she's explaining all this to me and it was very, because there would be so many crazy things that would happen. And then when you're investigating as the person in it, you're like, well, this seems odd, or what happened here? Where were you? Or what, you can tell that something's off, that there's a lie, but you're trying to figure out what the lie is. And then they will just lash out at you, call you names, say that you're crazy, you're making something up, and lie in these extravagant ways.
Almost like crazy.
Okay, so there was this one time specifically, it just popped in my head, because I think it was one of the most lies where I just thought, what is this? Something's really wrong here.
Yes.
So Dan was, he did music, and he did music in sometimes churches. He was at this band practice.
Okay.
And he was supposed to be home by whatever time, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whatever time it was. And he wasn't home. Okay. And then 30 minutes go by, he's not home. I text him, no response. I'm like, hey, like, you okay? Like, coming home? An hour goes by, an hour and a half. I'm like, this is really weird. Can't get a hold of him. So then at the 2-hour mark, I call his friend, who was also in the band, his friend that played guitar. I called his wife, or I text his wife, and I was like, hey, did your husband come home? Or are they running late? Or I can't get a hold of them. And sometimes if they were playing, they wouldn't hear their phone. So I was just
Fair enough.
that could be.
Yeah.
But they didn't normally go that long over. And she said, oh no, he came home 2 hours ago. And I was like, okay. And she said, oh, why? Is Dan not home? And I was like, oh, not yet. But maybe he had something to do, whatever.
Right.
But it's getting late into the evening. Nothing's open. So I go to bed. It's 10:30 or so. I go to bed. He's not there. I can't get a hold of him. I go to sleep, but I can't sleep because then I'm worried. I'm like, what if something happened? What if something's wrong? So probably about midnight, I wake up, and the way that he's still not home. And the way our room was in that house, over our bed, the bedroom window looked right down onto our driveway and out to the street.
Okay.
So I looked out the window, no car, no, he's not there. Check the phone again, nothing. Midnight, he's not home. I go back to sleep. A little after.
Did you not get the Cinderella memo? The carriage.
Right, clock strikes midnight.
You turn into the beast at midnight here.
I know, you just was MIA.
Wow.
So probably a little after 1 a.m., I wake up again. I look outside again, no car, no nothing. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. I go back to sleep. Probably a little after 2:30 or something a.m. I hear him. I hear the front door open because I'm sleeping so sound lightly because I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I hear the door. I can hear it open quietly. I hear him click, try to close it quickly.
Yes.
Quietly. And I can hear him rustling around on the main floor. So I get out of bed, I walk down the stairs, and I see he's in the kitchen. I'll never forget, I walked in the kitchen, and he's in the fridge. The fridge door is open.
Yes.
He's rummaging through the fridge. And then he turns around, and I can tell that he's been drinking or something.
Okay.
And I was like, where have you been?
Yeah.
And he goes, what are you talking about? And I was like, where have you been? You were supposed to be home at 9 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, whatever. It's now 3 in the morning. I've been calling you. I messaged you. You never replied. And he was like, no, I did come home late. I came home late and you were sleeping. I've been in bed this whole time.
Stop.
And I was like, what? And he just starts laughing. He's like, yeah, I just got thirsty. I came down from bed to get a drink, but I've been in bed this whole time. And I was like, no, you haven't. I've gotten up. I've looked out the window.
Yes.
You're not in bed beside me. I look out. A car's not in the driveway. And we're going back and forth, and he's arguing with me.
And
that
you're probably
he's
am I crazy?
Well, yeah, for a second, you're like, did I dream that? What? And he's so emphatic about it, arguing with me. I've been in bed. Then, all of a sudden, I look down. He's still got his shoes on.
Stop.
No. And I said that I look down, I go,
So do you sleep in your shoes?
Your shoes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I could see on his face, he knew he was caught.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, F you, you bleep, bleep, bleep. He started screaming at me, you're a psycho, like screaming at me.
Right.
And I just was so tired by that time. And this had happened so many times before, this type of thing, that I went upstairs and just walked back upstairs and went to bed. And I just like cried. I just like laid in my bed and cried. And I just remember feeling like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
Like, you're lying. Now, I don't know where you were.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were doing. Obviously, you were up to no good because you're lying about it.
Yeah, you would just say, hey, I got caught here or whatever.
Totally. And then you don't even just say like, hey, you know, I'm sorry. Then you're saying I'm the crazy one. Yeah. I'm a psycho. I'm whatever, when you just got caught in the most obvious way. And then it's like, I'm the bad guy. And like, that is an example of gaslighting, which I didn't know that term then.
Right.
But then when I would explain some of these things to like the therapist, she was just like, that is gaslighting. Like, and that's a true tell of a narcissist or a narcissistic behavior, because normal people don't do things like that. Like, number one, you don't lie like that. Yeah. If you did get caught in a lie or something, you admit or tell the truth. Like, you don't turn it on the other person. Yeah. And then at no point does he ever, like, then the next day, it's just like, he wakes up, it's like new day, fresh start. It's like, we don't talk about it. We're not going to even, there's no coming back and being like, sorry, I had a few drinks, I said something I shouldn't have, or whatever. It's just like,
ignore, like,
we're just going to pretend this happened.
Yeah. Which you never get anywhere with doing that. No. You can't just shove it under the carpet and be like, let's not deal with it.
And then just hurt builds up, right? Because then, like, what am I supposed to do with that? Yes. Like, I'm hurt, upset. I don't feel like safe in this relationship emotionally because we don't have honesty. Like, I don't know where you were, what you were doing, and then you come home and you blame me for asking questions about where you've been in the middle of the night, right? Yeah. Like, it's just, that's the kind of thing that is like such a tell, like, that's not healthy, and that's very hard to move on from.
And in all the years of like therapy and like with different therapists and stuff, like, I'm just thinking, like, I know in a previous episode you had said that, like, on your honeymoon it kind of like everything changed, right? Like, the mask was off,
right?
Because obviously seeing him before, you saw none of these signs. It's just like it came off. Like, the person you thought you married was not that. And you might not be able to answer this, but I'm just thinking, like, in all the years, like, what do you think switched, or when do you think switched, or how, like, or why? You know what I'm saying? Like, where did we go from like Mr. Perfect to this? And like, along the way, did you ever like hear a therapist say like, this is why it happened, like, right into the marriage, or this is like, do you have any insight into that?
Well, yes. And I feel like that's such a good question, because that's important, I think, for anyone dealing with this type of scenario, because you do think, am I crazy? Like this, and you just don't know what's going on. Like, this person I've known for years was never like this. Yeah. So, and it's such a drastic shift. Yeah. And then also, the person that you fell in love with, you see that person often. Yes. Every time you leave the house, you see him. He's back. Yeah. When you're at church, he's back. When he's working, he's back. When he's with his family, he's back. Yeah. And then you're just like, oh, okay. But then as soon as you're behind closed doors and there's privacy, you're with this person that you don't know. Right. That you're like, who are you? You're in the body of the person I love, but your behavior is unlike anything I've ever seen. So that's super confusing. And that's also, I think, what makes you stay, because you keep thinking, maybe I can get to a place where the person who I keep seeing, I still see them every day at some point. Yeah. Maybe I could see them all the time, right? When when the way they are in front of people will be how they are at home.
It's gotta be so heartbreaking though.
It is, it's so confusing, but that's what the therapist said to me. The reason that it would switch on the honeymoon is, she said, again, that's another trait of narcissism. She said that they will be who they have to be until they feel like they have you like trapped. That's why a lot of narcissists will like what's called like love bombing you. They'll want to get in a relationship quick, they'll want to move in quick, or they'll want to get married quick, or they'll try to have a baby with someone right away. They'll do whatever they can do to kind of trap you, so that then they can take the mask off, because that's probably a lot of work for them to be always fighting who they really are. And they want to be able to take that mask off and just kind of exhale and just let loose. Yes. So she said that that's actually super common, that people marry somebody, they're one way, then they get married and they totally switch. And that is really one of the major signs of like narcissistic traits, because normally that doesn't happen. sure, everyone can be their worst self at home.
Yes.
You're relaxed, you're with the person you love.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be like a true Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
And that's what we had. Like you even knew at that time, like even in our church community, it was so hard.
Yeah.
Because there was crazy stuff happening behind the scenes that I didn't feel like I could tell anyone.
Yeah.
And then you would get to church or in a friend circle or whatever, or at music things.
Yeah.
And people would be saying to
Praise
me like,
the ground he walked
he's
on.
the most amazing. I remember one time, it made me sick to my stomach. I feel like traumatized me. I'll never forget it. One of the pastors at the church we were at the time, he was older, super sweet man, heart of gold, meant well. And I remember him coming to me saying, "You're so lucky. Dan is the man on earth who's most like Jesus that I've ever met. He's the most Jesus-like of anyone I've ever met." And I was just like...
And you're sitting there going, you have no idea.
Oh my goodness. And then it almost then furthered this belief in me, like no one will ever believe me because they didn't just think he's a nice guy. Like people thought he was like the nicest guy they've ever met, the greatest guy.
Which is weird because sometimes in narcissistic personality disorder, they also have anger issues that do come out in front of other people. So I've heard that there are two kinds where, you know, they do see the angry side, but in your case, it wasn't like that. Yeah. It was, you would go up to, I even remember, you know, when my ex and I were, I almost said it there, but you know, when, you know, we're going through like a rough time, just being like, cause I didn't know fully what was going on, just being like, oh man, she has it so good. Like she has it so good because you did hold so much of it in. Like it was later on that you would start to tell me a little bit more. Yeah. But it really was. From the outside, it looked like you guys had the perfect life.
Well, and it's
the house, the cars, the marriage, everything. Yeah.
And the stuff is so crazy. Like, how do you, it's not just like, oh, he got mad and like swore at me. Not that that's okay. It's bad. But that maybe falls more into the circle of like, maybe like a normal anger outburst that someone could have. Yeah. That the stuff that was going on was so crazy that like, how would I have ever brought that up in a conversation? Like it was impossible. It was so crazy. I just felt like people would be like, what? Or like there's no time to, like, unless I, like what I could have done looking back is I could have strategically called you or somebody else and said like, I need to talk to you, and sat down and had a conversation that was just about that. Yeah. But in like everyday interaction, like people would say to me all the time, like, oh, they would say what you just said to me. You're so lucky. Yeah. Like, and I remember people making jokes to me, being like, oh, be careful. If anything ever happens to you, like, I'm going to marry Dan. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah. And I would just be like,
have fun.
Okay.
Have fun.
Like, what do you
say? And to like everyone, to even whoever that older gentleman was or whatever, like, it's like no one is faulted because really that's what we saw. And so like, it made sense. Like I was like, oh yeah, they just have a great marriage. And I remember my ex even saying, they have such a good marriage, like, look at what they do, and blah, 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 blah. Like, well, we were still married, and I'm like, yeah, like, they do. I don't know what they do to make it like that. Like, and so it's just wild. And so I guess, what do you say to somebody that's like, or what do you say to somebody that feels like they can't share? Like, or what do you regret? Like, I know you're just saying, like, looking back, I could have done that, but how do you even open up that conversation with your friends or a family member to go, this is what I'm living in. Can you help me? Yeah. Is there a way to go about it, do you think?
Well, I think that for sure, like if you have a trusted person, then you could confide in them like that way, like to say, I need to talk to you, have a specific conversation just about that. Yeah. And then maybe it would be important to pick somebody that you don't feel like is going to do some knee-jerk reaction, like confront him, because that will make things bad for you. Or like do something, somebody who could just listen to you and give you some advice, but also understand that it's so complex, the situation you're in. You can't just like confront a narcissist and be like, oh, I'm going to go tell them to stop treating her that way. Yeah, like, good luck. It would actually make it worse. Yeah. Like the amount of times that I didn't say anything, even if, like, I was always afraid of the blowback from him. And there was always the pressure from him to like
not say anything.
Yeah, and to keep up this facade. And I'll take accountability. I did it myself too. Like I chose to not say anything. Yeah. But there was always this pressure to help him like pull off this persona that he had. As
you're speaking, sorry, I just had a thought, and it's like this wild, it's weird, but wild. But, you know, you saw his mask come off when you got married, and you almost had to pick it up and put on the mask.
Oh, 100%.
Which is like...
Yeah, it's like he forced me to wear a mask, I felt like, for my own... Yeah, like I didn't...
You almost picked up his mask.
Yeah.
Forced. Like, because he needed you to pick up this facade. You were too scared to say anything. And just as you're speaking, I had that analogy just being like, whoa, like how heartbreaking to be like, he's throwing his off to be like, this is the real me behind closed doors, of course. Totally. And then you have to pick it up and be like, okay, like I'm just going to be the perfect submissive wife.
Well, and that's where I just hope people can have, even listening to the conversation, if they're not in a relationship that feels that way, if they know someone, just to have grace because it can feel like, why would you go along with that? Or wouldn't you stand up for yourself? And why didn't you put boundaries? But it's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's so hard. And there's so much at stake. Yeah. And there's so many things you're balancing to think like, well, if I say this, then that's going to set off this chain reaction of negative things, and maybe it's not worth it. And not even that those things are right, but in the moment, it's so hard to make a decision to tell somebody or get help because
you don't know what to do. I almost think you would have needed like a best friend or like somebody that like you knew you could trust the information to, that also still believes in your marriage and that wouldn't use it against that person.
Right. Which like, is so hard.
Yeah. It's so very hard to find. Yeah. It for sure is. Like it's, you know, those are hard to come by for sure. But I'm just thinking like if you had that where you have that one trusted person that loves you, but also believes in marriage, that they're not just going to say like, okay, well, yeah, like you should leave him or whatever, because it is very complicated. I'm not saying stay either with a narcissistic abuser, but it's like, how do we find the line of helping friends that are going through something like this where from the outside, if you're not in that relationship, you could be like, you're an idiot. Yeah. You need to leave.
Totally.
Like, what are you thinking? Like, you're just going to allow him to treat you like this?
Totally.
However, on the flip side, you know, it's so much more complicated like that. Okay, fine, you leave. Then what happens? Right. What happens to your kids when they're alone with him?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? This had to, like, was this kind of stuff going through your head?
100%. Right. And he not only just had severe anger issues and he was sort of unreasonable. Well, and I think you would have seen this even as a friend. Like, his competency just in, like, parenting or just adulting in general was very low. Like, never would help out. Yeah, like, and he just was always you. Like, he wouldn't clean up it after himself. He wouldn't make a snack for like everything was just like Pam, the kids are hungry. Pam, the kids need to be changed. Pam, the kid if he saw that they needed something, he would just tell me to do it. He would never do it himself. Right. Like very, I shouldn't say never, very rarely. Yes. And usually with a lot of grumbling and complaining. Like if he had to, you know, change a diaper because I was busy doing something else, and I'd be like, please, you know, it was the biggest deal, and it was the worst diaper ever changed, and I almost like owed him this giant favor because he did it. Like, so then it would get to the point where I wouldn't even bother asking for stuff because he would make it into such a huge deal. Like I owed him for doing the simplest task.
Which I remember, even as you're speaking, you didn't like go out a lot with girlfriends back then. No, and I think because you couldn't.
No, couldn't.
Like there was many events
I would never
that you would
leave him home with.
Yeah,
never.
Like, but I don't think I realized it at the time. I was just always like, oh yeah, Pam's busy or Pam's whatever. Because again, none of us really knew. But now, like as you're talking, as we're having these conversations over the last several weeks, even, you know, I am seeing that as like, yeah, like you just felt like you couldn't come on a girls' night.
No.
Because you're like, wait, but then who am I leaving the kids with here?
Totally.
Because you didn't fully trust it.
Oh, I would hire a 14-year-old babysitter. Right. Over. I'm not, that's literally what I did. Right. I would never. Right. Like that was such unless I was running out for just a few minutes to the grocery store or something, and he just wouldn't do it. Like he would never stay home to take care of the kids so that I could go out and have fun. Like that wouldn't have sat well with him. He would be angry about that and resentful and would have never allowed that to happen. Right. Because that's just the way he was. Like he didn't, it would make him angry if I if he ever felt like I had something easier than him, or I was in a better spot than him in something, it was always this like he had to have the best situation, which again, that's a very narcissistic kind of thing where you're almost getting punished if you don't do, like, even if I was like to sit down to watch a show or go on my phone or something, like I could never do it in peace. He would
be upset that you're on your phone.
He would point to, well, how come you're not doing this? Or there's a thing of laundry in the dryer. There's always a reason in his mind that he didn't think I deserved any sort of like break or time out with friends or whatever. But
and you, like, I mean, you guys were together for a long time, like over 10 years, 12 to 14, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And so it's like and maybe, like, I know we've talked about it a little bit in previous episodes, but like to stay in that relationship with somebody that just treats you like trash, pretty much. Like, what does that do to your self-worth, and how do you stay? So for the people that are listening, like, I know that there's people out there that are in very similar situations. And I know that it's not as easy just to say, get out. Like, you need to leave, because we know that it's not easy.
No.
But what do you say to them, the one that's sitting on their bed crying because he just yelled at them again, or he was aggressive with them again? Like, what do you say to them to be like, for your self-worth, for the person that they are? Like, I don't know. How did you get through it? Like, how did you stay for as long as you did?
Yeah, that's a good and probably complex question.
Yeah, 100%.
But I do think, I will say for my situation, I was fortunate because my husband had a recording contract for music. He was making an album that he had a contract with a music company. So he was gone a lot. He traveled a lot for doing like concert shows or traveling, doing radio tours, whatever.
So you had that reprieve.
Honestly, it was so crazy because people would always say to me, oh my goodness, you poor thing. Like, Dan's always leaving for weeks at a time, and like you're just left home alone with the kids. And I'm like,
I do everything alone.
But in my head, I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank God. Like, I couldn't wait for him to leave sometimes. Like, especially if he was really in a bad way, like leading up to a trip, I would be literally counting the minutes. Like, pack his suitcase for him, everything, get him all ready. And then, you know, and I would try not to show it to him and just be like, okay, have a great trip. And like, he would go out, the door would shut, and I would literally like exhale and be like, oh, thank God. Like, I have like a week or 2 weeks or whatever it was of peace where no one's going to yell at me, swear at me. Nothing's going to be broken. No one's going to smash holes in the wall. No one's going to be, he's not going to be missing. I'm not going to be looking for in the middle of the night. I'm not going to be deciphering lies. Like, that's so exhausting, especially when you have like little kids. Like,
when he left, you must have literally dropped the kids off to school some days and just came back and like slept.
I wouldn't. Sometimes I would like a couple days I wouldn't even not like clean up. I wouldn't tie it because, well, I think you knew this. He used to have this joke all the time where he used to always say he wants his house to look like a hotel. Like, that was his thing. Which I like a tidy, clean house too. Don't get me wrong. But when you have 2 little kids, there's only so much you can do.
Absolutely.
And his standard of clean wasn't like what he would consider messy, most people would be like, what? Like, that's pretty clean. So it was very hard. So when he would leave, I would almost feel like I had like a week off.
Like a little kid.
Okay, like,
Daddy's gone, I don't have to clean.
Totally. Like, I can just leave these toys out for a bit or, you know, whatever. Like, I can just relax, or I could like sit and watch a movie after the kids go to bed. And even if there is laundry or something to do, I can just leave it for the next day. I don't have to be worried that he's going to be upset with me and feel like, and then it's going to cause a problem.
So you would get that break. You would get that little.
So that, I feel like helped. I don't know if I could have done it. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the breaks. If he was there every day, like, I know that's a lot of people's reality. I don't know how to do that. And then I think for me, I had like the end goal, right? Like what you said earlier. I was like, I will never put my kids in a situation where they are alone with this man for long periods of time. Never. Because I knew that he had so much trouble controlling his temper, especially when he was frustrated or not getting his way. And little kids can be trying, right?
100%.
And I thought, I literally thought, I do not care. I do not care what he says or does to me. I did care. But to me, I was like,
you mama bear wanted to protect them.
Yeah, I'm not going to leave him with toddlers. Forget that. Like, that would, to me, that just sounded crazy. That sounded not even an option. So then in my head, I just was like, I'm going to make it work.
If at any point, and again, I don't even know if we talked about this, so if we need to cut it, we'll cut it.
Okay.
I have 2 things.
That's okay.
I have 2 things. One, was it ever in your thought pattern that like, I'm going to stay until the kids are old enough? Mm-hmm. And then, like, so that way you're not leaving them alone with him. Mm-hmm. Like, did those thoughts ever cross your head? And then I'll ask the second one in a minute.
Not that.
Okay.
But I always knew, just because the way he treated me, I always knew in my heart, and I would have the thoughts all the time, as soon as these kids are old enough, he's going to leave me for someone else. I knew that. I knew it from the very beginning. I could never picture myself, like, growing old with him or doing things together, just the two of us. I knew that wouldn't happen because, well, for one, our whole marriage, he was already always getting involved with other women constantly on varying levels, whether it was just texting or he was meeting up with them, or like it was always something. So I didn't have this illusion that we had this strong relationship, that he was committed to me.
Yes.
So to me, I just knew when he doesn't have a reason to keep up the facade for the kids, like, because they're not in the house.
Right.
One of these women that he's always in contact with, he's just going to leave for them. I knew that. Okay. I didn't think it would happen as soon as it did, because I did think
they were still young.
Yeah, because I did think he would at least try to wait till they were like out of the house.
So yeah, I guess you just didn't think he'd leave that early on, because it still was, your kids were still young.
Yeah, I did. I did think that. I mean, I guess I wasn't shocked, because I did always just think somebody who's not faithful to you when you have the family and all the commitments, like why would they keep going?
So like, because you had that thought, maybe you never did have the thought that it could get to the point where I have to leave because I can't do this.
Yeah, I never thought I would even have the chance to leave, because I just thought he would just leave me. Like, I didn't really, I guess I just never, I didn't think of leaving him, and I think marriage was so important to me, and I did always keep thinking maybe we could make it a little bit better. But
you were just always hopeful. Like, you were holding on to that hope.
Well, and because it was so drastic, right? Like, it would be awful and horrible. But then
it'd be amazing.
This really nice guy, or like we'd all go with friends, and he'd be so nice to me and fun, and we're all laughing. And then in your head, you're like, oh, okay, like, okay, like this was great. Like, what a great night. And then it kind of fills your cup a bit, where you're like, okay, and it gives you like that little bit of like juice to just like sustain you. But then 2 days later, you know.
And how big do you think the ups and downs were? Are we talking weekly, daily? I know it's probably hard to go back in, but like,
it was.
Would it be like a month?
Different. It was so different. Okay. Like, I felt like whenever he would do like a rehab or a therapy or like some sort of, or like anger management course, when he came off of that, like I'll say he was good, like pretty good. Not like no one's perfect, but for him, very much improved for sometimes a month at a time. Even I feel like even there was one time where there was almost maybe a full year of him being or at least what I saw. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. So,
but what you were witnessing,
there'd be like months at a time, and you're like, okay, so this. It's in my head. I was like, this is working. Whatever the like therapy or the counseling, or you know, he was on different medications. Oh, the medication was working. Things to help stabilize his mental health. Okay. But then it just never stuck. That's the thing. Like, it didn't. It just
was here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, it just didn't last, which was unfortunate. So then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, we're back to square one. But then sometimes when he was on a bad run, it would just be like days and days, weeks and months of just him being horrible. But then usually what would happen is at the end of like a horrible run, something really crazy would happen, right? Like he would do something really destructive, or really something with another woman come out, whatever. And so then things would, just kind of go up and down. Like they would be bad and then good and then bad. So
that's hard to live through.
There's just so many things that were so messed up in our relationship. And I knew that it was messed up, but I didn't know what to do. I just was like, this cannot be normal or healthy or right even. But, you know, I also because I had nothing to compare it to, and I just didn't know really what else to do. And I didn't want to make him mad. But, and then he would say that to me, like, if I ever did try to like stay away from him, he would be like, you're so mean, you don't ever do what I want. And I'm just like,
you don't spend time with me.
And I'm just like, are you kidding me? You just punched a hole in the wall, and now you want me to do what with you? Like, be in the most vulnerable spot with you? No, I'm literally still trying to get over the damage that is downstairs, and we have to call a repairman for that now tomorrow. Like, It's just, you can't, but somebody who is selfish or narcissistic, they don't think like that. It's like when they're over it, they're over it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing about narcissism. True. And for you as the person on the receiving end of abuse or dysfunctional behavior, you don't just get over it because they're over it.
Trauma, embedded trauma at this point. Years probably for you. And even if you reacted at that point, it would be out of like a triggered trauma response.
Yeah, totally. And which I learned this from counseling, your nervous system is so messed up. Like you do have a hard time functioning normally, even when there isn't something happening, because your nervous system is just on like fight or flight. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And the thing that's so manipulative and gaslighting too, that people that have sort of narcissistic personality behaviors can do, is they will say things like, "You're mean." Like you're mean. Like he would like do something, swear at me, or I would find something on his computer with another woman. We'd talk it out. There'd be a confrontation. I would be devastated, hurt, scared, whatever happened. He would apologize or do his thing. So then he feels better because he's apologized and whatever. 5 minutes later, it's like, "Oh, well, let's do this, or let's go here." And I would still be not myself. Like I wouldn't be. And then he'd be like, "You're so mean. You're so mean to me. See, this is how you treat me. You're so mean." And then I again would just be like, "Oh," like, and now you're yelling at me again. You're yelling at me because I'm still like traumatized from what I just found out 25 minutes ago.
Yeah, just because you apologize does not mean we can just move on here.
No. And that's the thing I think I wish that people who were abusive would understand, like, when you're abusive, whether it's verbally, emotionally, physically, whatever, when you do that to someone, you're really wrecking your relationship, because the person on the receiving end, they don't just snap out of that. They don't just get over that, right away. That doesn't, it's really hard. And then if you keep doing it, then you're piling and piling. Then you're right. The person that you're also married to, you don't recognize.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to be the person they were either, because you've literally traumatized them, right? Yeah. Like, and then it's unfair to be like, "Well, you don't do this and this, and you're not happy, or you're not fun, or you're not nice." It's like, well, you're like, I'm just trying to surviving here. Right? Yeah. It's so complex, and it's so complicated. And I feel like people who have experienced it probably are like, "Oh yeah, I get that." And maybe people who haven't might feel like this sounds weird, or like, what? Like, why would you do that? But it's very complex, and it's scary, like, especially if there's physical outbursts that happen, because you don't know when that's going to happen. And it's not what people think. It's not like you do something really big and then they freak out. It could be like you look at them the wrong way.
And it's like a freak out.
Right. Or they don't like the tone of your voice, and then you're unleashing this thing. And then you do get, like, I never thought, when I say like I was scared living with him, I never thought he would like premeditatedly do something to me. I never thought that. Yeah. But there were just so many times when things escalated. Yes. And then he would get physically aggressive. And I used to think,
"Oh,
something could accidentally happen." Yeah. And then so I remember specifically this one time we were at this in this Ellicottville at this like ski lodge that we'd rented for like the weekend. Okay. We're supposed to be going away to
like on vacation.
Time. Yeah, just the two of us. And it was like a little bed and breakfast. So there was like a room with a big bathroom attached to it. And we were in the room. And then I don't remember, because they're always so minuscule. But something I did or said he didn't like, and he just switched. And then he just got so angry and started screaming at me. And he would just get this like look in his face where it's I would know he's at a 10 out of 10. Yeah. And when you're at a 10 out of 10, there's anything I say or do makes it worse. Right. So he starts grabbing stuff from in there and throwing it. So I went in the bathroom and I shut the door and I locked myself in there. But then he didn't like that, because that's removing control, I guess, right? Right. So he was banging on the door. "Let me in. Open this bleeping door right now. You open this door." And I was just like, "I'm not going to open it till you calm down." Yeah. "Don't you tell me to calm down," and screaming, and "You're a psycho," and da 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 da. and banging on the door. And I was just like, I'll open the door as soon as you calm down. You have to just calm down. But that wasn't the right thing to say. He was just getting more angry. And he was literally banging on this door and so hard. I thought he was going to come through that door and break the door.
And are you like just pooping your pants? Like what's going through your head?
Bathroom. Totally. I'm just like, I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? Like in my head, there's all these, do I leave it and hope the door holds? Do I hope someone hears and comes to help? Do I open the door? Maybe he'll be happy that I did what he said and open the door. So that's what I chose to do. I thought, I'm just going to open the door. Then because he was escalating. I thought, then if I open the door, he won't be so mad.
Right.
So I opened the door, and because he was so angry, he flew, like charged in at me, grabbed me by the shoulders and threw me back in the bathroom. And there was this big like soaker tub. So I cracked my back on the back of this tub. And then I think I must have knocked the wind out of myself, because then I couldn't
catch your breath,
breathe. And then I don't know if you've ever done that, but it's like a scary feeling when you're like trying so hard to breathe. And you can't breathe, take a breath in. And I remember in that like split second thinking, oh my gosh, he just broke my back.
Right.
That's what I literally thought. I was like, no, and
because you were in pain, you can't breathe.
And I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, oh, he just broke my back. Like, great. Like, this is it. And I could even actually see on him, he looked scared for a second.
Right.
Like he was just standing there, and I could see the look on his face. It had changed from that like
anger
rage to like he did look a little panicked. So then I knew that he knew what he had done. Like he didn't even know what he'd done. And then I got up out of the tub, and then I kind of caught my breath in, and then I just like started to cry.
Of course.
And then right as soon as he saw that I was like, okay, then he started again with like, see what you made me do. You make me so angry. You made me so angry that I did that. This is your fault, and blah, blah, blah. So, but then it's like he kind of calms down, because I guess he got what he wanted.
He got what he wanted out.
Right. Like he was so angry. Right. And he got his anger out, and I was like punished in a way. Right. Like, and then he goes on and he wants to just be like have the rest of the night just like everything's fine. Like 2 minutes later, just like, oh, let's see if there's a movie on. And I'm just sitting there like shaking. My back is still so sore. I'm like crying. I'm like just like trauma. And I just remember thinking like, honestly, like I feel like I don't swear. I remember thinking like I want to call my mom. I just want to like call my mom and be like, come and get me. Like this man's insane. Like but I didn't. I just like sat down on the bed with him while he flicked through movies, and was just like, okay, I'll just like watch a movie. And I don't even remember what movie we watched. I wasn't even paying attention the whole time. I'm just like thinking, how do I get out of this? Like, what do I do? Do I just keep living like this? Like, because he's scary. Like when he's out of control, he's truly out of control. And I don't think he meant to hurt me.
Of course.
I don't think he meant to throw me back into the tub. I don't even think it was conscious. I think he was just so mad that it just happened. And that's what scared me, that I didn't even feel like he had control over himself.
Right.
So, and when things are escalating like that in those relationships, it's not just so easy to tell someone, well, stand up to them and have your boundaries and don't take that from him. It's like, well, you don't understand what that means. Like, you can't just do that. You can't just stand up to them. It's not the same as a normal relationship where you could enforce boundaries
and say like, this is enough.
It's just not.
I think my reflex would have kicked him square in the face. Like my feet would have just like,
I know, maybe.
I think I say that, but like, and it's different personalities.
Totally.
For sure. And I can tend to really have more anger on my side. I'm a little bit more feisty. So like us two together would have been, it was probably giving each other like black eyes, like legit. But like, I mean, as you're talking, I'm like, I think for anyone listening that's gone through something like this, I'm just like, because I know it's complicated. We from the outside are going to say to you, why wouldn't you leave after that? Like that's like an instinct for us to be like somebody that doesn't quite understand that. Why wouldn't you want to leave? And I guess then the second question to that would be like, what would have it taken? Like, why do people stay? And is it until they actually physically punch you in the face.
Right.
Like what is, why do so many people stay right until they actually hit you? Or, because to me, this, like, it's still physical. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's a very complex question, but I'm just like, I'm sure there's people listening that are like, well, are you just waiting until, because the fights seem to have gotten more and more aggressive. So like, are you just waiting until they actually hit you and then that's it, because then you can press charges? My mind is just like, how do we help women?
To know.
Yeah.
I think for me, I believed a lie, probably that was a lie. Hopefully it was a lie. I believed that nobody would believe me. I just felt like, I don't know how I could try to get help for this. And I think if people knew him, like you would understand it more. Maybe people that aren't in our circle might just be like, what? But he was like a beloved, revered, on the highest pedestal. Like, people loved him. Yeah. And rightfully so, because the parts that he showed people were very lovable. Yeah. So absolutely. I don't fault anyone for that, right? But what am I supposed to do? Even for that, I'm supposed to come back to who? Like our friends, like our church, the leaders of our church, and tell them that this just happened at Ellicottville. This happened. They're not going to believe it. They're going to be like, not Dan. Right. Dan would never do that. He wouldn't do that.
Right. You must have slipped.
Right. Or it was probably an accident, or he didn't realize you were behind it. Like, there would be some sort of excuse. And there were times when little things did come up. And I saw people always made excuses for his bad behavior. Always. Right. Where he wouldn't show up for things that he was supposed to for other people. He wouldn't do this and that. And it was always somebody else's fault. Always. Like, and everybody always was so quick to give him excuses and be like, well, you know, he just this, and that. So in my head, I just thought, what am I going to do? Like, no one's going to believe me. You just felt trapped. Then what do I do with my kids? Like, no one, who's going to help and support me? Probably nobody, because they will never. And he used to say that to me all the time. Like, no one is ever going to believe you. And would always pressure me to be, like, not like fake, but just to keep up the facade that he wanted. Like, even, I remember this one time, it's so crazy because this was so random, but he had a recording contract in Nashville. We had a house there that we would go to for half the year. When he had, with his record label, he was looking for a manager. So he found this manager that managed other artists that he really liked. And for whatever reason, she was the one. She's the one he wanted. And when he wants something, he gets what he wants. Like, that's just the way he is, right? Yeah. And so we'll just call her Kelly. So Kelly is, you know, so Dan's trying to get Kelly to take him on.
Dan and Kelly, by the way, are such a Barbie name.
I know, I guess. Well, so, yeah, maybe.
Barbie.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know why that name came to my head, but
I like it.
So she had already like a full roster. So she was hesitant to take on a new artist. It was like and he was really working to like get her to take it. He's like, I want this. Yeah. Really want. He would talk to me about it. I'd be like, yeah, like try to be supportive. Yeah, this is great, whatever. They're going back and forth. Weeks or months had gone on where they're trying to come up with a deal where she's going to manage him and whatever. So then it comes to this point where he says to me, we're in Nashville at the time, and he says, you know, you've got to have lunch with Kelly. That's sort of the last step. I think she's going to take me on, but she wants to talk to you first, because before they invest all this time and money into an artist, they have to know that like the wife and the whole family is like behind, so that they're all working towards the same goal. There's no friction there, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And
which good on the artist industry for doing that.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay. And he was like, but this is so important. Like, you can't mess this up. Like, you have to, you have to say this and this and that. And he was totally coaching me and say this and make sure you don't say that and make sure that you seem like you're supportive. And I was like, okay. And I was supportive. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And whatever. So we go to lunch with her. We're probably there for like an hour. She asked all these same questions that he prepped me that she'd ask about whatever, our life and supporting, da-da-da-da. Then I think we're done. She's like, oh, it was so great to meet you. And da-da-da. I was like, okay, great. I'm thinking, okay, exhale, it's good. Like, I just like felt his like prying eyes on me the whole time. And I was like, I felt like I did so well. I answered all these questions. Totally. I'm like, I did it, you know? And then she says, I just have one more question before you guys go. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, points to me, she goes, is this real? Is this real? And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, this who he is. Is this real? Because I've never met anyone like that. And I can't figure out if he's like the nicest person I've ever met or he's like a sociopath. But this, like, is he really like this all the time? because he's super nice and like the nicest guy ever. And I'm just having a hard time believing. But she was like sort of cheeky joking,
right.
but like maybe kind of not. And she was like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but like she was waiting for an answer.
Right.
And I was just like,
yeah.
I just felt like, and just the way I don't know, there's something, and maybe it was in my own head, but I felt like the way she was like looking at me.
Like it was almost like twice. Like, do you need some help?
Seriously. Or like she actually wasn't joking. Like she really did think it was one or the other. And I was like, and
you're panicking.
Totally, because I'm thinking, where did this come from? Why did you ask me that? What a weird question. People I've known my whole life that I interact with all day long have never said that about. Like, and then she's on the spot, and he's just like, like, and I was like, and then I don't know why I said, but something else. Like, like this, this is how he's super great and whatever. Like I stumbled across and said something.
Right.
I didn't even know if it was believable. And then she said, okay, it was a great meeting. We leave and we get into our car, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And then we get in the car, and then Dan actually starts laughing, and he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she asked you that. Like, I didn't know what you were going to say. Oh, but no, you did so good. Like, yeah, you did. That was perfect what you said. And can you believe that? Oh my gosh, little does she know. Ha ha ha. And he was like laughing about it, like making a joke about how basically we both had just scammed this woman. And I just remember sitting there driving back to our house thinking, oh my goodness, like, like, what have I done? Like, I just lied to this woman.
Wow.
And he's laughing about it. Like, he thinks it's funny. Like, this is like a game to him of like chess where he's trying to outmaneuver everybody. And I just remember feeling sick to my stomach and thinking like, again, and like, how do I get out of this? Like, is there a way out like this or a way through? Is there a way to make this better? Like, this is so horrible.
You were just trapped at every angle.
Well, and I just felt like I was then just compromising the person who I was and who I wanted to be. Like, I don't want to be somebody who's dishonest and lying and whatever. But I felt like it was like my own, like, what am I supposed to do in that lunch? Am I supposed to tell her?
Yeah.
And then go home with him?
And then go home with it?
And my kids are,
I
was just like, I felt like I had like a gun to my head. Like I had no choice. Like, but to say what I knew I had to say to keep him happy.
Yeah.
But then we're lying to this woman.
Yeah.
And I felt almost too like, I just remember thinking, even if she signs him, he's not going to get away with this. She's smart.
Yeah.
And she's on.
She had some discernment. She had something was going off. Something was like, this is not okay. Totally. I'm going to trust the process.
Yeah.
But like, I'm on to you.
That is exactly how I felt. And I remember then almost feeling nervous. Like he was so excited because he thought, oh, this is great. She's going to take me on. And I was thinking, this could go really bad because I think she's onto you. Yeah. I think you better as much
pull
as
your poop together.
Totally, because she's got already a red flag up in her mind. Wow. And like good on her. But
when you just said you felt like you had a gun to your head, it just reminded me of, I feel like so many people in these types of relationships, whether narcissistic or abusive or whatever, really do have like an emotional gun to their head. Mm-hmm. It's not physical, but it's an emotional gun, and that is why they can't walk away. Yeah. Because they just feel literally trapped. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, I stay and I can protect my kids, or I leave, but then my kids have to be alone with him. Yeah. Or then I'm going to have to co-parent with a narcissist, which is so hard.
It's like, good luck. Yeah.
So it is just, it's a hard one.
And it's so heartbreaking. And I don't know if it's just more awareness now or if it truly seems like there's more like narcissistic behavior happening in our society. But it just seems like gone are the days where, you know, and not to get too into like gender roles or whatever, but like that men take pride in like being the leader and being strong for their family and like cherishing their wife and like taking care of their wife and like their wife and their kids is like their responsibility. And like back in the day, it was like, you know, of our grandparents' time, like as a man, if your family fell apart, that was on you. Like that was the most embarrassing, most humiliating thing that could happen, that you would let your own family down. You can blame it on your wife
back then in those days.
And now it just seems like for whatever reason, and I know it happens with women too, but it's just like we don't take pride in caring for each other. Like also wives doing whatever they can to make their husband's life as good as, like, that's the thing. If a wife worked to make her husband's life as good as she could, and a husband was doing the same for her,
be beautiful.
You'd have like this beautiful marriage. Like, not perfect, because no one's perfect, but the sort of toxic, like, cycles of abuse and the manipulation and the betrayal, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be to that degree of dysfunction, right? And it doesn't have to be, but it seems to be so often and like widely accepted. Like,
we even know from the DMs, so many people writing us just being like, I feel stuck in my marriage because of this, or you know, I've been in this relationship for this many years and I don't know what to do. And it's like, it's hard because I don't even, we say we don't even know how to answer them sometimes. I mean, number one, we don't have all the answers, but it's like, well, how do you encourage somebody to like what to do, because it is so complicated. Yeah. But on the flip side, it's like, you know, we do always like to bring it back to the sunny side and what that looks like. And so I think for you, me looking into your life is like, I'm like, I see you have this beautiful life on the other side that you, being so that woman in the bathtub, fighting for your life pretty much, would have never thought that this is where you would be today. And that could be there. Totally, 100%. And I want to say for people that have that fear, and my greatest fear, it actually was true. Right. Even when he left for another woman, people still didn't believe it. Right. They thought there must have been, they didn't believe me, they didn't believe what happened. Right. But guess what? It doesn't actually matter. Yeah. Because you have people that do believe you and do believe in you and support you. And then, like, even in my case, it's like I've just sort of let it off, and then really his own decisions apart from me have proven that is what really happened and has continued to happen, right? Yeah. Beyond me. It had nothing to do with me, because when I'm out of the picture, that behavior is still going on with other people now. Yeah. And so it doesn't actually matter. Like, if you're scared no one's going to believe you, if you're scared you don't have support, that could all be true, and you can still do it and go on. And I would say, if you know somebody that you think might be in this kind of a situation, I think is like what you said before, you need like a friend that would like to say to them, I will support you whatever you decide. And I understand if you feel like you can't leave right now, I understand that. Yeah. But I want you to still come to me and talk to me, and I want to support you. Yes. But I want you to know that if you ever need to leave, we're going to help you. Yeah. Me and whoever our friends are, or whatever, we're going to help you. You won't be doing it alone. Yeah. Because I feel like if I had that conversation, I might have made different decisions if I felt like, now that probably was true with some of my friends. Yeah. But we just never had the conversation. Yes. So in my head, I was scared it wasn't true. But now you and I, probably being through what we've been through, can look at other marriages and almost call it out and be like, hey, like, are you doing okay? Totally. Like, talk to me, because we know what to look for. We know what to look for in different ways. Yeah. And I think, and I know you feel the same, because we've talked, I take pride in that too. Like, I've had a number of situations where people have called me in an emergency, where they're standing at the side of the road with their babies and all their stuff in a duffel bag and whatever, or other things have happened. And it's funny, because I had a friend say to me recently, like, I don't know how you get yourself in these situations. Like, you always have these crazy things happening, and not so much for me, but just stuff I'm getting involved in. And I said to her, I'm like, I actually take that as an honor, that people will, like, yes, call me. If that's having to call me, because I will believe you, and I will come and get you, and I will set you up with somewhere safe to live. Yeah. That I will 100% do that. It's like the saying, I think I actually posted it on our Instagram last week, but it's like, I'd rather sit with the broken than walk with the great. Yeah, right? Sure. And it's so true. Is I'm like, I would rather help as many people as I can than sit with you know, the movie star to the right. Like, because that's great for a photo op, and then what? You're left feeling empty. So it's like, how do we sit with the broken? How do we help? And I think even this podcast for us was kind of where it birthed out of, is like, how can we help women find the sunny side? Yeah. And talk about the stuff that no one wants to talk about. That maybe no one wants to talk about, because it is hard, and you can be afraid. And will I get backlash
from people I've talked about in this episode? Perhaps. Yeah. But also it's what happened. It's the truth. And it's also happening to other people. And I know it's a hard conversation to have, for sure. But we have to stop just hiding because of fear or retribution or whatever. You have to tell the truth about what's really happening to you or has happened to you, and be open to helping other people who maybe are 10 steps back where you were. Yeah. Right? And then you can help them.
And it's not easy for us even sharing, because we do get backlash from our exes. Like, and we have gotten backlash. Yeah. So it is that teetering line, you know, there is a lot I haven't said, and I'm sure there's a lot you haven't said. Yeah. So it's teetering the line of like helping people and get out the truth as much as we can, but also, you know, we still have to deal with things on the other side. Like, I wish I could just like lay it all bare. Like,
we go viral with our stories.
I mean, we probably would. But it's like, to what point? You know, like there's just certain things that don't need to be said. I think what you shared today, I'm like, thank you so much for sharing, because it is powerful and it's heartbreaking and it's emotional, but I really do think it's going to help somebody. And so it's like, when people think, oh, like maybe they're just sharing to like get clout, or maybe they're just sharing to like throw them under the rug. I'm like, man, if you knew our hearts behind this and the conversations you and I have off camera about the whys and why we're doing this, I'm like, I just feel like this episode is going to be so healing for women, and maybe more women will even reach out to us to be like, hey, I actually don't have a friend. But this is the situation, like, can you help? And I just want to be that for people. I just want to be like, let us help you.
Yeah, 100%. And we can even like research, by the time we post this, some links we'll put in the Instagram bio with like support centers. Because there are actually, we're very fortunate to live in Ontario and Canada. There are lots. So many, actually a friend of mine that I was helping this past year leave a situation. She said that to me. She said, I had no idea the supports, like the financial supports, the community supports, the therapy that our community offers, mostly for free. And she said, like, had I known this, I might have left a long time ago. But you don't know. There's tons of supports. Yeah, like you really don't have to stay, especially if you're not safe. Like, you do not have to stay in an unsafe situation.
And I look at your life and I am like, you really are living the sunny side. Like, you have, your kids are like beautiful and doing amazing. And you've got a beautiful house and you've got beautiful friends, beautiful church family. And it's like, man, if you could just tell that girl in the bathtub.
Totally.
Walk away.
Call your mom and get out of there.
Like,
totally.
We are very pro-marriage. We are. But there are times, you know, where it's just not healthy. And so it's like, looking at somebody that's been through it and on the other side is like, guys, like, there really is sun on this side. It's not a storm.
No.
It's not a hurricane. It's sun and it's a beach and it's warm and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's like from there to here, there is the middle. Like,
absolutely.
When he first left, we had to leave our house, and I did have to live in a neighborhood that was on the scary side. And there were some things that were not great. And there were a lot of sacrifices that had to be made. And there were some really tough years there, for sure. But it's like every year can get better. And if you're focused on positivity, if you're focused on the sunny side, if you're focused on
getting
healing and doing well, and realizing that God created you for a life that is not to just be like wasted and in trauma, in an unsafe, toxic situation. You can get out and you can live a beautiful life. Different than you thought. Different. Like, the life even that I live now isn't the life I would have chosen for myself 100%. I'll still say that. But you can make the best of it.
You can make the best of it. And the sun really will shine. Right?
But I do think what you said earlier, way at the beginning, is really, I feel like, where we should even wrap it around to the end, because you have to talk to somebody. You have to find, even if it's one person that you trust, and you even say what you need. Say, like, I need for you just to listen and don't tell me to leave and whatever. I just need to share this with you, and I need to know that you know and you can support me.
Because then they can be praying for you. They can be helping you practically in other ways. But it really is like, please share. Like, share your struggle. Tell somebody, so that you're not living in it alone. Because life wasn't meant to be done alone. It's true.
Oh, guys.
That was like, we tried to end in a sunny side, and I hope that we did.
I know.
It was a heavy episode, but I think it was one that was needed. And so we're thankful you're here. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.